Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions. Your host tonight is the author of the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Ma'at, the Pan-African Nationalist, Oni. Oni, what are we discussing tonight?
All right, peace, family. Can you imagine I put the wrong title? I put the wrong title, I just realized. So today we're actually going to go over Ayiti, not Angola. I also may have neglected to put it on the internet. I'm just a little bit under the weather right now. Just a little bit under the weather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this online as well. But yeah, we're going to be comparing Ayiti and the other African nations according to this data set that I gathered up for you guys, right? Now, before I get into that, right, I do want to remind you all that I'm a part of a podcasting network, right? So give me 2 seconds.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
All right, so what I want to say is, make sure you guys check out the Revolutionary Matron as well, The Learning Curve. Great podcaster. She's now on Spaces a lot, so you can definitely check her out there. You know, make sure you follow all of us on Twitter, right? But yeah, we're gonna go off with Ayiti. I know I feel like I sound like I'm sick. I am horribly sick. Apparently winter came yesterday, and I knew winter was coming. Now I'm joking. But anyway, I do want to tell you guys this though, that I did release my pro-black word search puzzle. See, I got my own copy too. You can either get it hard copy or paperback. Hard copy is pretty expensive to print, so that's why it's a little bit pricey. But this book is worth it. It has African leaders, has quotes, and it has different. It's just a really rich book, and I would encourage you to get it in your library as soon as possible, right? As soon as possible. But outside of that, let's go right into this work. And yeah, I'm sorry that I sound under the weather. So we're going to talk about Ayiti. Ayiti is another word for Haiti. Its Independence Day was actually January 1st. I had me some soup jumu, you already know, right? What is its population? Okay? Its population is 11 million, which is neither good nor bad. If you're talking about the Caribbean islands, right, Ayiti is probably your best bet. If you really must stay in the Western Hemisphere, Ayiti is probably your best bet in terms of population size, right? But look at population density. It is actually incredibly dense for a black nation. That means it has a small area compared to the amount of population it has, right? That has an abundance of people. If you go by how African nations really, realistically speaking, handle their population density. Now, that's not to say that 382 is a high population density, but with high population density, you'd expect very prominent, powerful cities. Okay, this is what it tells you. With high population density, you'd want strong cities. So you get high population density in New York City, obviously, in Tokyo, obviously, in London, obviously. Now, the United States itself, I don't think has that high population density, but those cities across the world, they of course have, probably higher population density. But that's because these are commercial centers, right? These are centers where there's a lot of business, a lot of industry, a lot of money changes hands. And when a lot of money changes hands, you need a lot of people, right? When a lot of money isn't changing hands, you don't need a lot of people. And that's really what you're seeing here. So, from a nationalist perspective, remember, population density might be, it could be, like, lower population density is better if you're trying to set up shop, per se, right? Now, it could be good if you're going to somewhere that can facilitate it. But the objective would be for you to facilitate a larger population density. That is, for you to be in the business of using and money and so on and so forth. But anyway, let's just go on to the let's continue with the reading. Let's give me 2 seconds. Let me close this. Let me see if you guys can see this screen a little better when I do this. Yes. All right. So now Haiti is 95% black, which is actually high, but not that high. Right? Apparently there are countries that are like 99%. As you can see, Benin is 99%. But 95% basically means that there are 10 million black people there and half a million non-black people in Haiti, right? So that's something to remember. Now, another thing to also remember is that in Haiti, like the mixed people are also considered black, although most people would say that mixed people do not really account for a large population. But it's just one of those things to also bear in mind, right? So apparently the GDP per capita is very low. Okay, so I put the green in low. So it's pretty low. So that's something that you really want to couple with the population density, right? You want to couple it with the population density. So like we said about Bahamas, like this is more, or like Barbados, where it's the high population density and high GDP per capita, right? That's kind of what you want to see, because that's telling you that there's a lot of economic activity when the GDP per capita is high and the population density is high. You want them both to be high. But if the population density is high and the GDP per capita is low, that's telling you that, yeah, this is actually the worst case scenario. It's actually the worst case scenario when you're talking about high population density. Anyway, let's keep going. So its revenue is pretty low as well. And again, I put revenue as low to I highlighted revenue as low in order to tell you that in essence, that means that your money is that much more meaningful there. Okay? Is that much more meaningful there, because you're talking about $1 billion in revenue, right? And $2 billion in expenditure, right? And again, remember, this is like 2020 statistics, so coronavirus is going to skew everything. Like everywhere in the world kind of had this same deficit, but the and not everywhere. Obviously, there's the one country here that, for those who don't know, the one country that didn't have a deficit was Jamaica, which is pretty interesting. But anyway, but like everybody has a deficit except for Jamaica. Of the African nations. Now, America had a deficit, China had a deficit, all these other nations. But like some nations obviously didn't have deficits. But that's just called budgeting and whatever, right? But either way, $1 billion means that your $10 million, right, is 1% of the revenue. You see what I'm saying? So now if you want to do something with $10 million, the people are like, whoa, that's 1%. Yeah, what do you want to do? Right? Whereas in the case of this right here, $11 billion, your $10 million or your $11 million is less is 0.1%, right? And then it's like, yeah, who cares? You're just 0.1%. So I'm telling you that the lower the number, the better it is for you if you're looking to really invest and be somebody significant, somebody proportion, like somebody significant there. Now again, I should remind you all that at the moment Haiti does not have a leader per se, or better to say that the president was killed, and now you have a sitting prime minister who's, also being targeted. So it's kind of a war zone, kind of an area that you don't want to necessarily be in per se, but that's just something to bear in mind, right? Hold on a second. All right, so the surplus, yes, negative 671, so it's 8% of the GDP. So it's not the most reckless spending, right? But it's some sort of spending. The unemployment is pretty decently high for an African country, right? And this is also another thing that you have to realize, that unemployment metrics are really difficult to gauge in Africa, I guess, because yeah, I can't necessarily say why a lot of times it's this low, but I guess a lot of people are gainfully employed, or maybe not gainfully employed, but employed no less, so they're just not included in unemployment. If you were to say unemployment and underemployment, that might be another statistic that I probably should add in the future. Now, literacy rate is fairly low, okay, for an African country. Okay, it's fairly low for an African country. It's not low. It's not the lowest you can see. Obviously, Benin has lower. There's still lower than that. All right, here, Central African Republic is 36%, but it's not necessarily as high as Barbados or Bahamas, right? The index of economic freedom is actually pretty high. Now, this might be a little outdated, right? And the index of press freedom is pretty high too. So again, so yeah, the index of economic freedom is one of those indications that you want. But like I've said earlier, this is like a white people's index. And it's pretty much like, hey, and that's another thing to consider too, right? That these are how white people are communicating to white people. Hey, you can do business in this country. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do business like a white man, which is how you probably will do business anyway, but if you're going to do business like a white man and walk up to the the president and say, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, right? What they're saying is that's where it's accessible in that respect. Okay, it's accessible in that respect. And how much you're going to tax us? Oh, you're not going to tax us that much. We can do whatever we want. Sure. That's kind of what this looks like, because, the infrastructure is not necessarily there per se. And not just that, it's like you have a good white business there, you're probably going to get the protection you need. I'll tell you guys this, after the earthquake, I think I did a podcast on this, so make sure you guys check out, subscribe and, learn some more, right? But at one of the podcasts, I discussed how there was this hospital after the earthquake that they had bandits go in and steal medical supplies and steal nurses and so on and so forth, right? And it's a real understanding that we have to have is that bandits and criminals and lawlessness are just a natural part of the human experience. Okay? Bandits, lawlessness, they're just a natural part of the human experience. And I remember, if you really, one of the books I tell you guys to read every year is Garvey and Garveyism. You go read that book, right? And at one point, Garvey mentions how there were bandits between, I think, Jamaica and Colombia or something, because people had to find work in Colombia at the time. And they would murder people on their way to work. They would murder black people on their way to work, and Garvey was outraged about this, right? But this is the way of the world, and as much as people don't like video games or don't like role-playing games and all that kind of stuff, one of the things about these video games and role-playing games is that you would walk into a forest, or you would walk across the map or whatever, walk from city to city, and then somebody would stop you and fight you, and sometimes it'd be bandits, right? And you'd be like, what? That's so stupid. That doesn't happen in real life. And the reason why it doesn't happen in real life is because you're in a modern state with a modern police force, right? With a modern legal system. But when you step out of a functioning legal system, you end up with bandits and pirates and thugs and criminals and so on and so forth. And this is a really important thing to know, that especially when you're talking about nation building, right? But also when you're talking about what national responsibility is. So in the pro-black puzzle book, we do talk about national responsibility, right? I mean, I think I might be able to show you guys a little bit of that for today. Let me see if I could. But we do talk about national responsibility and like what nations are supposed to be doing. So it really behooves you to get yourself a copy. It behooves you to get yourself a copy, because we're really going to be going over a lot of the things that we need to be going over as a people, and it's going to be a fun thing that you and your family can go through. So let me just see if I can find it. Yeah, I'm just so mad that I'm sick at the moment. Role of government, I think. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. All right. So this is a little fun thing, and I mean, I probably shouldn't do this too often, but you guys deserved it, and hopefully you guys can fit visible, no, fit page. All right. So you see, this is the role of government. So it's like what we expect from our government, right? And obviously, all the words are hitting in the search. Let me see if you guys. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yeah. So all the words are obviously hidden in the search box, but you check it out. The role of government is airport, citizenship, currency, districting, docks, electricity, immigration, general wharf welfare, immigration, right? Internet, right? You want the thing to the internet. Justice, land allocation, libraries, military, moral law, protection, your rights, safe markets, safe roads, schools, smart budgeting, street lights, tax collection, and trains, right? So, again, you have these governments, right? And when they collapse, these are the things that collapse with them, right? The currency collapses with them. The docks, that's the trading, collapses with them. The electrical grid collapses with them. The internet collapses with them, right? The schools, the safety of the roads and the safety of the markets collapse with them. The trains collapse with them. I'm not necessarily going to say I'm a statist per se. Some people might think so. But it's important, or it's imperative, that we understand that this is one of the aspects that we find ourselves encountering as we engage in what would be like anti-governmental ideas, right? So make sure, again, like I said, you guys make sure that you get yourself a copy of the pro-black puzzle. Oh, okay, I think I closed it out. But there's a lot of information there for you guys, and I really do want you to think. So that's what index to economic freedom could mean there. Index to economic press freedom is a 3 as well. Now, of course, that obviously changed due to the collapse of the government, right? How much freedom can you have when you don't have a government, right? Or you don't have a functioning government anymore, right? So life expectancy is not necessarily too low. It's kind of middle ground for Africa. Electricity access is actually not even that low for Africa. And I'm actually curious what electricity access means here. In so much as, 100%, like, again, Ayiti is not a huge nation, but, when it comes to the nations in Africa, a lot of them are huge. And so, why, it's very realistic to have 100%. Now, Barbados and Bahamas, they're tiny, so they do, but, it is what it is. Water access is pretty low. You want higher water access regardless. You might not, you do want higher electricity access too, because you're like one of those internet people. But again, the tertiary education, I'm just going to take out this whole lane actually. Let me just take it out. Where is it? What do you call it? All right, so infant mortality is pretty low. Okay, pretty. No, sorry. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong number. It's pretty high in Haiti. So that's about 0.6% of babies, which isn't that like it isn't awful, but yeah. Wait, is it 0.6? No, 6%. Yeah. So it's 6% of babies. Okay. I was like 0.6%. It's not that bad, but yeah, 6% of babies are passing away. Well, infant mortality. So it could be between 0 and 5 years old, right? These I didn't include yet. I guess again, the Gini coefficient is that there actually isn't that much wealth inequality in Haiti compared to other nations. That's to say that there isn't that many. Like the rich aren't that much richer. So Haiti's a little bit more balanced in terms of that, which also tells you that the economic opportunity is probably very light there. So you don't necessarily like the metrics are like quantitatively it's not looking too much like this is a zone you want to go to. But again, one of the things about these island nations, it's kind of just listed as formalities. You really wouldn't be going there for starters. You know, so Ayiti, Bahamas, Barbados, none of them really. I plan on doing Bahamas and Barbados together next week, actually. But you wouldn't really go there because they're small islands. You know, they're islands. I mean, Ayiti is your best bet, but again, you see the metrics, and it kind of should tell you, you know, maybe you don't have that much opportunity there to actually do something there. Now, you could obviously go to some other nation and then engage in sea trade with Haiti and spark the economy in that way. And then, of course, go to Haiti and meet yourself on the seaport. You know what I mean? You know, engage in business with yourself on the seaport. This is called vertical businesses or horizontal businesses. But, horizontal, right? But outside of that, no. I mean... It just doesn't look like somewhere that your money will grow, right? Not to say that there aren't exceptions. Now, here's one of the issues. This is actually a pretty interesting story if you guys are familiar with Bill Clinton. So, Bill Clinton and, that's about it. Bill Clinton and them decide that Haiti could skip over the agricultural stage of development, right? And go straight into industry or service, right? They decide this with the then Haitian president Aristide, who was chased out and then brought back by the United States government, right? Now, what they do there, right, is so the idea is that they can put Haiti into the industrial age or the service age because Haiti's topsoil isn't even that good to support it agriculturally anyway, right? Or that's what they figure, and then of course later on they figure that they were wrong. But what happens is that Haiti becomes even less self-sufficient and is more impoverished than ever. And of course, Bill Clinton is remorseful, according to him. But the notion, but this is why, even though you see the percent agriculture is higher than the U.S. is, and it's about the same in industry, and it's fairly close to it's in service, like it has the same kind of American model, Haiti is not doing well. And this is why, you have to look at where you are developmentally. And realistically speaking, for us as African people, like if we're looking at a Pan-African lens, we want agriculture. We want big time agriculture. That way we can provide food for other African nations. You see what I'm saying? Like if you go to a nation with, look like 43%, 52% in agriculture, right? What that tells you now is that you can get in there, get the agriculture, and then sell the food abroad. and get yourself more money to develop your industry and your service. You know, agriculture is a very, very, very critical avenue, and you should not underestimate it, right? Lero says, I'm never on time, but I'm tuned in. Uh-oh. Hey, Lero, peace. Learning curves here, just to hit that like button. So make sure y'all hit that like button, right? Yeah, so I know I'm sounding a little sick, but, it is what it is. Conversion with the U.S. dollar. So the conversion with the U.S. dollar is that IT's is on 100 to 1, which is actually not bad for, which is actually not bad for an African country, right? So the cost of water is pretty medium, 99 cents. But again, remember, this is an island, so, water probably won't be that expensive, right? The cost of bread is pretty, is a pretty basic price. Again, remember, green means it's lower, red means it's higher. Red basically means don't go. But look at this. The cost of fast food, so this is like a McDonald's meal, is $15. Right? Which is pretty expensive, all things considered. The cost of a foreign car is, and remember, a foreign car just basically means, right? Now, if you go to this website, I do encourage you guys to go to this website, Numbio. I probably should show you guys what it looks like, but basically, you go to that website, and you'll see like where I got all these numbers from, or what these numbers mean. I'll put it in the chat. You guys can check it out, at your earliest convenience. Boom. It's a pretty good website. But like, it's a shame that we don't have this website for ourselves. Either way, its neighboring country is Dominican Republic. I should tell you guys a little about the Dominican Republic. So, I just saw this video on Quantitative TV, where it's like sort of like a mini documentary, and what they did was they had this this young lady, right, go up to the Dominican, like just some people behind I guess the Dominican border. I don't know what it is, right? But she's talking to these people, and they're like, "Hey, show us your papers," and she shows their papers, and then they say, and they say, "All right, get out of the country," pretty much. And she's like, "Why should I get out of the country? I'm Haitian," right? And they're like, "No, you're not Haitian with that name, right? Because you're like a French name or whatever, right?" And I guess they have Spanish names or something. And then eventually they kick her out of the country. But apparently she was born in Dominican Republic, and so what happened with Dominican Republic was that they had Haitians. They were deporting Haitians, even if they were like second, third generation in Dominican Republic, right? Which is, like that's just like I said, like I showed you guys what the purpose of government is. Government is going to handle immigration, and this is just one of the realities of the world that. Any country on this planet can just deport you. When we talk about nationalism, when we talk about organizing, when we talk about organization, we're talking about nations having the authority, having the ability to immigrate, build train systems, do whatever, but having the ultimate authority in your space. And the reality is that if you do not pursue the nationalist route, you will never have the ultimate authority in your space. You might have some authority in your home, but even then, you're not going to have that much authority, even in your home. Like for instance, I'll tell you guys this. If I were to say, hey, I want to beat up my kid, and, I could probably get away with it, right? But if the neighbor's here and they call some sort of police or whatever, they'll just take my kid from me. Or if let's say, I'd send my kid to school. Like, for instance, this sister was telling me that she would beat her kid, right? But he was, like, lighter complexion, right? So he was bruised easily, right? And not just that he was lighter complexion, he was just bruised easily, too, right? So when he, took off his shirt in gym and his teacher saw the bruises, she called her up and said, "Look, you got to stop doing whatever you're doing, or we're taking him." And that's it. Like you might think, "Hey, I'm the ultimate authority in my house." You're not really. The ultimate authority is going to be the nation. So you know this lady was Haitian in the Dominican Republic, or she was a Dominican whatever, but she was black skinned, or she's descended from Haitians, or whatever you want to call it, right? Point is, the Dominican Republic says, look, we don't want you anymore, and they send you out. And this could come to anybody. This could come to any of you, because you have to remember the police in America. They show up to your house to arrest you. They don't always arrest you on the street. They knock on your door. They ring your doorbell and say, all right, you're coming with me. You don't have a castle here. You don't have a castle here. They say, okay, we found out you're at your residence. Get out. You're coming with me. And they take you wherever they want to take you. You don't get to say, oh yeah, well, bring me now to Rikers, No, they say, look, you going wherever, You going to Montreal, you know what I'm saying? They don't care. They do what they want. But that's why because I know that was actually one of my issues with the quote unquote nationalist, black nationalist people of today. That was one of my issues with the black nationalist people of today, in the sense that what they do is what they do is that they tell you that they say organize. They say organize, right? But it's not about organization, right? It's not about organization. Even then, it's really about nationalization. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be an organization under another person's nation, right, you're still going to be under another person's nation. And that was like one of the issues I've had with the quote unquote nationalists, or the quote unquote like the Kwame Ture's and them of the world, is that you're going to form these organizations, but it's still going to be that the nation at hand is going to have organizations and institutions that are going to try to collapse you, right? Now, of course, you're going to have that anywhere you go. Like I said, you're in Dominican Republic, and you want to have a free Haiti or a free Haitian, whatever, right? You have a Haitian rights organization, and they're just supporting your leaders. So you're going to have that anywhere you go. That's why I'm informing you that you want to be economically important, economically valuable. You want to have $10-20 million, $10-20 million business, so that they're like, yeah, well, we're going to arrest you, take over your business, and you're like, well, try that, right? They arrest you, they take over your business, and it begins collapsing, and they say, okay, come out, handle your business. You understand? Because you're providing for our people. You want to be a good person, because again, like I said, you're going to be complaining about the treatment of African people, right? In the Dominican Republic, and they're going to just say, okay, just get out. Now, if you're giving Dominicans jobs, and you're giving Haitians jobs, and all that, then they'll say, okay, stay. Now, they might be like, hey, stop giving these Haitians jobs. And then you're going to have to go along with that, which is kind of like, oh, that's trash, but that's what nations are. That's what nations do. And if you don't like it, then they're going to fight you. And this is what happened. This is the story of Cuba, right? Why does America hate Cuba, right? America hates Cuba partially because when they had a nation state, right? When they had a nation state, when the Americans had businesses there, right? Cuba said, you got to do certain things for the people of Cuba, or you got to do X, Y, Z. And American businesses said, no, we ain't doing that. And so then Cuba said, okay, we're going to nationalize these businesses then, right? We're going to take over these businesses then. And America didn't like that, because America has to protect its businesses abroad. But that's what it is. the nation is this important authority, so you have to go to a nation that you like. And you can, of course, always say, let me organize in the Dominican Republic. Let me organize in England. Let me organize in the United States. You can say that all you want, and you can do that all you want, but do not be surprised when they arrest you, when they deport you, when they beat you, when they do whatever, when they cut your business off, when they say your business is illegal, when they do all sorts of stuff that unless you serve them faithfully and be the arm for them. But if you want to be an arm for America, then just call yourself an enemy of our race, right? So anyway, so I didn't really get too much information on the organizations. Obviously, there's Aristide and Bianabello, though. Bianabello is pretty cool. Oh, of course, you can also see I'm a Bookman, if you want, right? And then there's the International Ancestors of Dessalines. So you got to make sure that you look into Dessalines. Said his name wrong, I know. I didn't really get too much information. Nobody's really giving me information here, so it's whatever. But Radical Films, I actually didn't watch Aristide, but I know it's on the Quantitative TV, so make sure you guys check it out. And of course, these are the Radical books. I actually didn't get this book yet either, but She Rose of the Haitian Revolution by Bianabello. Bianabello is a really excellent historian, so make sure you all check that out. But other than that, that's pretty much the entirety of my podcast, right? And I appreciate everybody for coming through. You know, I know it's a little hard that I'm sick, but you know, it is what it is. But other than that, you know, thanks so much, everybody. So, Bit of Medicine, thank you for coming through. Lero, and of course, The Learning Curve. It's a little short podcast, a little short audience. Make sure you guys get the likes up. But other than that, appreciate the thing. And until next time, Shem Hotep, Anku Ja Seneb Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Dua Netcher.